gotta drain the...
Vote for Dennis, anti-tax guy. However, I just turned it on and it will cool off. But yeah, it'll cool down. Thank you for being here. We expect the Trump bus to be here. Not try to bring the bus. By the way,
I think Trump definitely would do a better job than Hillary. Look at her record. Look at Benghazi. Why isn't that reported? Left 4 of our people to die. So I am very proud at this point to endorse Donald Trump for president. I'm very happy that he made it this far. And I'm hoping in another 12 days, another 12, 13, what's it? 11 days, I don't know. God, just let's get it over. It's a long haul.
49 states.
49 states to win. I hope so.
25 Navy SEALs in a Chinook helicopter because of Hillary's.
Now he taught Hillary Clinton how to cry, and he showed Bernie how to cover up a clear blue sky. And the tears gonna fall from the liberals, gonna flood you, Big River, and the Democrats gonna lay right down and cry. I'm Troy Steele. Welcome aboard. Now here's Frank Sinatra.
Nation around. We need leaders, business leaders, Donald J. Trump and the Trump family in the White House. That's what makes a difference. That's what makes America great. That's what we need. Vote, get out and vote early, join your neighbors, get it all together. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Trump!
thank you, Michael. Eric Trump is in the house. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Eric. Welcome. Say hello to Eric Trump. First, I think we should honor our country first before we hear from Mr. Trump. I'd like you all to stand and salute the flag behind us with our wonderful Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And support our troops! Joe, do you have anything to say? Would you like to introduce Mr. Trump, please? Joe Brzezinski, the chairman of Nye County Republican Central Committee.
Thank you very much. Thank everyone for coming here to give a warm welcome to Eric Trump from all of us here in Pahrump. I want to just thank a few people here in the room today that have helped make this possible. First of all, I would be amiss if I didn't thank my lovely bride, Faye, in the background. Without her support, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. All right? If you notice the people with the red hats on today, there's our volunteers that have been working day and night for Donald Trump. Right here in the front row. Terry Savannah, he's our coordinator. I get phone calls at 8 o'clock in the morning and at 11 o'clock at night. This man does never sleep. Give him a round of applause. It's critical in our election. There's something that we see in our hats that says, "Make America Great Again." Donald Trump will do that. There's a question I've been asked about you, and I'd like to ask that, okay? People said that once your father is elected, are you going to be known as the first son, or is it Donald Jr.?
We'll give it to Donald Jr. I don't like politicians, so we'll give it to Don Jr., all right?
All right. So, thank you again. And now it's my extreme pleasure to introduce Eric Trump.
Wow, guys, thank you. What a turnout. Does this set a record for the restaurant? It has to. This is incredible. All the people outside and the sheriff, who's always been so amazing. She's really incredible to us. And thank you, guys. Thank you to all law enforcement. You guys are truly incredible. And you are so underappreciated by so many politicians. And believe me, you're coming first. You were coming first in my father's administration. There's no question about it. So, talking about law enforcement, I'm not sure if anybody just saw what happened. And is anybody filled in? Yeah. Somebody just said it. The FBI just reopened the case on Hillary Clinton 2 seconds ago. You know, it's so sad. Somebody asked me before, I was just on a radio show, Battleground Radio out of Las Vegas. Everybody probably knows Kevin Wall. And he asked, Eric, what was the most surprising thing about this journey for you, for a person who's a civilian? I'm like everybody in this room. I'm a total civilian in this process. Other than I greatly believe my father because he's an amazing, amazing man. But what surprised you the most? And I said the corruption that I've seen front and center in looking at this process. And it's horrible. We deserve so much better as a country. You see, listen, I'm not a fan of people stealing emails. I don't love it. But if there's one thing that WikiLeaks has showed us, it's how bad the system really is. You see Donna Brazile giving debate questions to Hillary Clinton ahead of time. Could you imagine if Reince Priebus gave my father debate questions ahead of time? I mean, they would both be shot. They would both be shot. I mean, it just wouldn't happen. You see them making fun in these emails of evangelicals, of Christians, of Latinos. I mean, some of the things that are said are horrible. You see Bill Clinton just got $1 million from Qatar for his birthday. Who would like $1 million for their birthday from Qatar? Raise your hand. You know, it's horrible. It's horrible stuff. You see the corruption firsthand. You see $35 million being given to the Clinton Foundation from Saudi Arabia, the largest oppressors of women and minorities in the world. They hate our way of life. I mean, it's unbelievable. You see the United States giving 20% of its uranium stockpile to Russia. Uranium, the material that they use to make nuclear weapons. We give 20% of our uranium stockpile to Russia. And then the business people who put this deal together give $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. I mean, you simply can't make this garbage up, and we deserve so much better as a country. And believe me, guys, the nonsense is going to end. The nonsense is going to end so quickly. You know, it's amazing. If you look at the problems that we have as a nation, they're so great. And our politicians have done such a terrible job, which is really the only reason my father's running. And I can tell you implicitly that if we didn't have problems as a nation, he wouldn't be doing this. He wouldn't need to do this. And this is his way of giving back to a country that's given our family absolutely everything. But look at what we have. We have $20 trillion worth of debt. Our debt's gone up by $11 trillion under President Obama. That's enough to repay all student debt in this country 6 times over. I mean, think about it. It's gone up by $11 trillion in the last 7 years. And Hillary Clinton comes out a couple weeks ago. She goes, I have an amazing tax plan. I'm going to repay $1.6 trillion worth of debt in the next decade. I go, what's the point of paying $1.6 trillion back when in a decade when the current president has increased our deficit $11 trillion in the last 7 years? And this is how our politicians think. We have an educational system that's ranked 30th in the world. 30th in the world. Reading comprehension in the United States is 34th. Math skills is ranked 37th in the world. We're leaving behind the next generation of Americans, and it's unacceptable. We're Americans. We should be number one in everything we do. at our military right now, and we have 22 veterans who take their lives every single day because our VA is doing a terrible, terrible job. Where are the veterans in this room? Amazing. Amazing how many. Amazing. First of all, on behalf of everybody in this room, on behalf of the country, on behalf of my father, on behalf of the family, thank you. And you will not be forgotten. Believe me in saying that the VA will be the #1 priority, and the military will be the #1 priority when we get in there. Because it's horrible. There are 22 veterans who take their own lives every single day because they're not getting the care that they need. I left Denver yesterday. I was in Denver. They were building a VA hospital there. Many of you probably know this story. The hospital was supposed to cost $500 million. They're at $2.1 billion, and they're still 3 years from finishing the hospital. Think about that. Initial budget, $500 million. They're at $2.1 billion, and they're 3 years from finishing the hospital. And, we opened a hotel the other day in Washington, D.C. A couple of you might have seen it on TV. And you know what our mantra is? On budget and ahead of schedule, or preferably below budget and ahead of schedule. How can you possibly have a budget of $500 million and it be at $2.1 billion and be behind schedule? And that's what you get with our federal government. There's no accountability, and you're 100% right, it is corruption. There's no accountability. That person, whoever's running that project, is probably going to get a promotion by our government. It's horrible. It's horrible. We just gave $150 billion to Iran, a country that truly hates our guts, right? They don't like what we stand for, and they don't like the Western way of life. They're clearly trying to develop nuclear weapons. They like nothing about what we all stand for as Americans. We gave $150 billion to Iran, including $1.7 billion in cash. And look at our vets. Look at our school system. Look at all the problems that we have. Why wouldn't we use that money in the United States? Why wouldn't we use that money to further our own interests in this country? But again, those are our politicians. Look at our military. We have the lowest level of readiness in modern day history. We're flying our strategic bomber, our B-52, was designed in the 1950s. We're flying a plane that's 65 years old. Think about it, 65 years old, our strategic bomber. We have the lowest level of ships, we have the lowest level of troops, we have the lowest level of tanks. And every day you open up the newspapers and you see Russia building new nuclear weapons, and you see other countries building new fighter planes, and you see North Korea, and you see the South China Sea and this new base in the middle of the South China Sea, and you see all this aggression. We need to have the strongest military that the United States has ever had, and that has to be our first priority. Look at jobs. Look at industry in this country. We have 95 million people out of work in the United States. 95 million. Median income in this country hasn't gone up in 15 years. People are making less money today than they did 15 years ago, if you could possibly believe it. We've lost 70,000 factories in the United States since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA. 70,000. It's almost a number. I wouldn't have guessed there was 70,000 factories in the United States. We've lost 70,000 factories since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA. We've lost 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs in this country since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA in 2001. We've lost all our jobs. They've gone overseas. Think about the median income. Think about what I started this with, right? Median income hasn't gone up. People are making less money today than they did 15 years ago. But then look at our expenses. Not only has income not gone up, look at the expenses. Look at Obamacare. One of the greatest shams of all time. In Arizona, not too far away from here, right? In Arizona, premiums went up 116%. And remember what the politicians claimed. They promised that you were going to get to keep your doctor, you're going to be able to keep your plan, and the average family was going to save $2,500 a year, right? You didn't get to keep your doctor, you didn't get to keep your plan, and the average family spends $4,500 more a year. I had a woman come up to me the other day, and she was actually crying. She goes, I had to opt my entire family out of Obamacare because I can no longer afford it. My entire family had amazing coverage. I can no longer afford Obamacare. I'm literally gambling with my children now. And you know what the worst part is, Eric? At the end of the year, I'm going to have to pay a $700 penalty. I never even thought about the penalty. At the end of the year, I'm going to have to pay a $700 penalty. It's horrible. And you know what? Hillary, a couple months ago, when she was debating with Bernie Sanders, came out and said, you know what they called it before they called it Obamacare? They called it Hillary Care. She was bragging about it. And no one holds our politicians accountable for anything they do. Guys, last but not least, there's a couple constitutional things that we have to get right. You know, I see you carrying a gun over there on your hip, and we could not be more proud of that. And by the way, we are the biggest Second Amendment family in the entire world, and if anybody ever doubts that, come look at my personal gun collection or that of my brother's, but we are the biggest Second Amendment family, and believe me, we are protecting the Second Amendment. We are protecting law enforcement in this country, as I mentioned before, because they've been totally left behind. And to the sheriff right here, thank you, Sheriff. You've been so incredibly amazing. We're going to protect Christianity in this country. We're going to start saying Merry Christmas again. We're going to start saying the Pledge of Allegiance again. I had a friend who just entered their little daughter in school, and she sent me a form. She sent me a picture of a form that says, would you like to opt your child out of having to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school? And she goes, what is this? Is this a joke? Meaning, check the box if you want to opt your kid out from saying the Pledge of Allegiance and send it back to the school. The kid doesn't need to stand up. They don't need to put their hand over their heart. They don't need to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, that's where we've become as a nation. It's so sad. Look at this whole thing all the time that you hear about people trying to take "In God We Trust" off of the U.S. currency. We are so much better than that as a nation. Christianity founded this nation. I mean, it's the religion of this nation, and we should respect all religions, but we shouldn't be afraid to say Merry Christmas because it might offend somebody. And the PC nonsense has to stop, and it's going to stop very, very quickly. So guys, just in closing, I've got the greatest father in the world. Believe me, I wouldn't be up here doing this stuff and fighting 24 hours a day, every single day, if I didn't think he would be incredible. He's been the greatest father in the world to me, and I think this nation needs a little bit of a father right now, to tell you the truth. He's been a great mentor to me my entire life, and I think this nation needs, quite frankly, a mentor in so many ways. He's played the boss role in my life, and I can tell you there's no more effective leader. I mean, he is so brutally honest. He's got so much backbone. Sometimes I actually say, Dad, you know what? Sometimes you're too honest. You're too honest, right? But that's what this country needs. This country needs somebody who's going to be honest, that won't lie to the people. They'll fix the problems, that won't necessarily always be perfectly PC, that will call people out and will hold people accountable within our government. And guys, he will do a tremendous, tremendous job. And he's going to make this country strong again. And he's going to make this country safe again. And he's going to bring jobs back to this nation. And he's going to build the greatest military that we have ever seen. And he's going to protect the Second Amendment. And he's going to protect Christianity. And guys, we're going to make America great again. And I promise you we will not let you down. And thank you. Get out and vote. Please get out and vote, because this state is just so crucially important. And I truly, truly appreciate you guys having me here today. Thank you guys so much.
Mr. Trump, don't leave. Let's have another round of applause for Eric Trump. And I hope he doesn't mind, Eric. There's something I would like to explain to all of you. Mr. Trump, I hope you'll allow me to do that, because you spoke about a country that's almost $20 trillion in debt. Most people could not explain that. Most people could not define what $20 trillion in debt means. Most people cannot define $1 billion. So I hope you don't mind, because I'm going to explain it to you and make you realize how far in debt we really are. Many people in this room cannot tell me what $1 billion is. $1 billion is 1,000 million. That's what $1 billion is. $1 trillion is 1,000 billion dollars. I can't even count that high.